Welcome to Rebecca Sounds Reveille. So many times we need to think about what we're doing in every aspect of life. One of those is in online dating. And today we are going to talk about safe steps to dating online. But before I do that, I want to let you know that this show is being brought to you by the Liberty Beacon Project and TLBTV. So as I said, we're going to be talking about steps to dating online that are safe. And we used to, many years ago, go into grocery stores or the local tavern or meet people through workplace or something like that, or even have friends and relatives recommend someone that they thought would be a great match for us. But online dating has been really becoming the mainstream way for many people to meet. And as many of you have heard, there is a lot of unsafe situations that have been brought to the forefront here in the media that have really made people apprehensive about dating, or at least dating online. With me today, I have a special guest who is an expert. She's a certified relationship specialist. She is a speaker. She is an author. She has a very unique approach to love and relationships, which is really important. She's also a licensed mental health counselor in Florida. She's had over 20 years of practicing as an individual marriage and family therapist. She has been a clinical supervisor in an outpatient office of family therapy. She has been empowering, though, individuals and couples to live richer and happier lives. With us today, I want to bring my guest on because I think what she has today to say is things that you are going to need to hear to make sure that you are safe. And if you're not currently dating, there's also tips that she's going to share with you about relationships and how to have a richer relationship with the ones in your circle. In addition to that, we're going to talk a little bit about her book, Unmasking Secrets to Unstoppable Relationships: How to Find, Keep, and Renew Love and Passion in Your Life. Welcome to the show, Lorianne Davis.
Thank you. I'm excited. I love these topics.
I do too. The topic, though, about dating online is one that we really don't hear on a positive note. We generally hear in the media all of these horrific stories about people who've tried dating on certain websites like Craigslist and then have had some horrific, incident happen. Or they've had dating sites that they've gone to and it turns out that they're really phantom ads from people in another country. Or you hear people who talk about certain sites with known labels to them as being just for inappropriate or indiscretionate type of behaviors. And that's not what a lot of people are looking for. They're really looking to find a long-term healthy relationship. And we want our audience members and those that they talk to about this episode to really be safe in what they're doing online, to understand some of the signs to be aware of, and then also to really begin laying a foundation of having a healthier relationship. So with that said, let's talk first a little bit about your book.
Sure. Yeah. Let's do that.
So tell me how you got started with, just beginning to write your book.
It was funny. The book started because my 28-year marriage had come to an end. But I had had 25 miraculous, amazing years, you know? And sometimes people in relationships go through things, they change, and that's kind of what happened with me. And so my husband and I at one point decided that we needed to go our separate ways after 28 years. And I had had two more children. I have three children. I had had two more in my late 40s. So I'm in my late 40s. I have two young children still that I have to raise. And I'm thinking,
oh, excuse me.
And I'm thinking, I don't want to raise these children alone. And I don't want to raise these children not seeing what an amazing relationship looks like. And on top of that, I wanted to be in another great relationship. I'd had 25 years in a loving, happy, healthy relationship, and I wanted that again. So it started because I started thinking about, what did we do for 25 years to stay that happy? That's a long time. So I started thinking, I'm going to start writing. And at the same time, I was in a new town, starting a new career, deciding I was going to be a relationship coach. My license didn't transfer from Florida. And I thought, this is the perfect time for a change. I started reading about coaching and thought, that's what I love. I was probably doing a lot of that as a therapist anyway. So
that makes sense.
Yeah. I started writing blogs about, just kind of for me, really. And I was publishing them out there as part of this new business. And I was writing about what were my secrets for what kept this relationship really great. I was dating again and knew I was going to have a new relationship soon. And I had a girlfriend say to me, you ought to write a book. Crazy. I don't know how to write a book, right? And so she said, my background is in editing. Why don't you just start putting things together and I'll start editing it for you. So that's how the book started. And before I knew it, I had an outline, I had titles, I had a book, and then I took it to a publisher who said, this is marvelous. I think this is a great idea, and published it for me. So
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. A lot of times, things that happen to us personally are what we end up writing about because we're experts on that particular arena. But you have something that's very unique in sharing that you had a fantastic 25-year marriage and then you started dating again. And I am going to venture to say that there is a lot that changed in dating during that time period.
Yes. I was 22 when I met my husband, my first husband. I'm now, but I was 22 years old. I was with a girlfriend. We walked into a club, right? And it was love at first sight, which really wasn't, but it turned out to be that it turned into, a 25-year love affair. And so I just ran into him. So now I'm in my late 40s. I have two young children, which honestly, most people in their late 40s do not, right?
Right.
And I had no idea how to date. So what do you do though, when you're a therapist? I started reading everything I could get my hands on. And I started putting together a plan. Along with healing. I had healing I needed to do before I was ready to go out. So while I'm doing this, I'm reading everything, I'm learning everything I could, and I applied it very successfully. I met my current husband actually pretty quickly. And we are now a little over 5 years into our relationship. I am now remarried, very happy again. And I started running into all these singles and they were frustrated and they were talking about their experiences with dating. And this little light bulb went off in my head, right? And I thought, this is what I'm supposed to do with this experience. I'm not supposed to just work with couples. I'm supposed to work with singles. I can help them. I have not only my years as a counselor experience, but I have my own personal journey through recently, right? Dating and finding somebody and all that went with that. So that's what the last 4.5 years that I have been doing. And I love it. I'm very passionate about, if you are single and you don't want to be, you shouldn't be, and you shouldn't struggle alone, and you don't have to be. My clients are successful. They find the love of their life for the first time, or again, if they're like me, and they're happy again. And that's what we all should have if we want that.
Absolutely it is. And so you work right now with singles
Mm-hmm.
on an individual basis, which is fantastic. You blog and you offer a lot of information through your website, leannedavis.com, so that people can have these really fulfilling relationships. And as we talked about off air, that relationships, they have a ripple effect in every aspect, because whatever's going on with one relationship affects all of the other ones.
It does. There was even a study that I read one time that said they were studying men, but my guess is that it's probably applicable to everybody, that people that are happier in their relationships make more money.
Oh, that's very interesting. And I can see that because they would have a better connection with others as well. And so a lot of times when we think of relationships, we do think of just our boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse, but relationship in essence really is everybody that we have around us in our circle, and those that we meet on the street and go to the grocery store and those kinds of things. But what I'm wondering about with what you said in reference to the frustrations that many of the people that you had talked to that were single, what were those types of frustrations they were having?
Great question. They're frustrated because they can't find the right one, right? They're dating, but they're dating all the wrong people.
Mm-hmm.
Or they're out there dating, but really they can't even get a date. That happens sometimes. Or I can
Okay.
get a first date, but I don't get any second dates.
Okay.
And I cannot tell you how many times I have heard there are no good men. Usually it's women who say this one, but there are no good men in wherever they live. Charlotte,
Okay.
where I live, which is a big place. Or
Right.
I work with people from coast to coast, and I've started working with people in other countries. But I hear it in LA, I hear it here, I hear it in Washington, D.C. I mean, there are wonderful men and women in all of those places.
I
So
agree.
there's nobody out there that wants a serious relationship. There's no quality men. There's no quality women. There's something that you're not doing right? Not on purpose, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
That you
Mm-hmm.
need a mindset shift. You need skills. You need something that you don't have, because those people are out there, and you can find them. I did. There was nothing special about me except I knew what to do and how to do it.
I think there is something special, and that's why you are with the man that you're with. I want to talk, though, about safety, because I think we live in a world where what we see on the screen, we assume is accurate.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it's a photo or something that is written, we tend to think that that is all true, and we believe it. And I don't know, I know what my opinion is, but I'd like to hear it from you. Do you think that when we're in a position and we start dating, we want to believe that what we see is true?
We do, yes. And depending on if you're newer to this like I was, it's like walking into a mall or something. I mean, there's just and we can get really excited about, the possibilities and the people. And, and I can share a little bit about my experiences that I learned pretty quickly, that the people that looked like the ones I wanted weren't the ones I wanted at all.
Uh-huh.
Right? And it
Uh-huh.
didn't take me very long to learn who to reach out to or who to respond back to and who not to. And as soon as I made that little shift in really getting that, all of a sudden, the whole world opened up, because I met my husband online. I would have
Mm-hmm.
never met him anywhere else. I met him online, but the whole world opened up, and these wonderful men started all of a sudden coming into my existence and
Mm-hmm.
meet. So, but there was a shift I needed to make, right? To cut, there's a learning curve there.
Right. There is a learning curve.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I think what you have said about learning who to contact, who not to respond to, and so on and so forth. I think when we first start, working ourselves up to going on, getting online and do online dating, then when a message comes through, we feel like we're obligated to respond. And here is safety check mark number one. Not everyone that messages you is someone you need to respond to, and you don't need to feel as though you have to respond to them.
Right. And if you do things in the right way, you're gonna, and we can talk about how to do that. You're gonna create sort of a safety net around yourself so that you don't have to be afraid to reach out or not reach out. You know, you can set things up so that it's okay to reach out even or respond to everybody if you want to. There's going to be some people that obviously you don't want to respond to. You know, if they respond to you in an inappropriate way, and you're not looking for inappropriateness, then obviously you can actually even report them. You can block them. You know, you don't have to respond to them. But we can talk about how to create sort of a safety net around yourself so that you feel safer doing this. But, you know, I also want to say that people sometimes think online dating is scary. But I don't know, honestly, if it's necessarily any riskier than if you went to a club, a bar, right? And you met somebody. I mean,
I agree.
You know, the only difference is that if you meet them in person, you know that that really is what they look like and what they sound like.
Yes.
You still don't know anything about them and who they are. So, you know, people will say, oh, online dating's not safe. It really isn't. In some ways, I almost think that it can be safer than meeting somebody in person.
That is very true, because you can do a Google search or check to see if certain things are accurate before you even meet them. So I absolutely agree with you on that. But I think a lot of times people don't have that learning curve to know what to look for. And so there's some challenges. And I've talked to a number of people who have been victimized, and it has been something where there are certain things that people need to know. For example, when looking at a profile, if there's things that don't match or add up right, there's probably a reason for that.
Yes. And so here's a really good one. If somebody looks fabulous, this happened to me one time. It was probably a model picture, and I was skeptical just because of that. But I read the profile, and, you know, Match had sent it to me and said that we match in so many ways. And I thought, this person looks too good to be true. But what the heck, right? You know, the counselor in me got curious.
Sure.
So I sent a message to them. Well, the message that came back was obviously not the person that had written the profile. The English wasn't good. English wasn't their first language. It was very obvious there was a disconnect. And at that point, I reported them, blocked them, reported them, and then their profile was gone. You know, that's taken them down. So sometimes it's really obvious. A couple of other things that I can suggest that will make those people very apparent to you, right, is don't get into this pen pal relationship with people. So send an email, you know, or respond to an email, seeing if you have some things in common. And if the email sounds nice, the person sounds like they're educated, they sound like, you know, the profile, but only 1 or 2 emails. You don't want to have too many of those, because now you're starting a pen pal relationship with somebody who's in Iraq or something.
Yes, agreed.
Looking for. So we want to move it very quickly from an email or two to, I suggest a phone call. I think a phone call is a wonderful, every now and then I have a client that wants to skip it, and, you know, and it's up to them, but I highly suggest the next step is a phone call. And so let's talk really briefly about how you set up some safety nets. When you get online, Gmail's very easy. Create a separate Gmail account. So, and I like that for a couple of reasons. One is it's kind of safe in that if you decide that you're getting harassed by somebody, just shut the account down and start a new one, right? It's nothing personal of yours is attached to that. So you could easily shut it down if you wanted to. The other thing is it keeps messages from getting, this isn't safety, but it keeps those messages from getting lost in your, you know, you might miss a message from some guy that you really didn't want to miss a message from.
Yes.
Like me, I get a lot of emails. So I started a separate account, And I actually still have that account, and I use it for some other things that I want to keep separate. Now you can go onto that account and you can see who's emailed you. You can respond right away. So it's safety, but it also keeps an organization for you better.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like I said, you want to get onto a phone call pretty quick. And ladies, it's okay for you to suggest, how about a phone call? You know, it sounds like we have some things in common. So how about a phone call? And you can just do that and see if he won't give you his number. But the reality is that it's okay to give your number too. I mean, cell phones, numbers aren't that hard to come by. You can block people. If somebody gives you a hard time, you just simply block them. Technology is much easier than it used to be, you know, back when I was young. So don't be afraid to give your phone number. You want to get on a phone call because now you can tell, does that person really match what you think?
Yes.
You learn a lot in a half an hour phone call, right?
Absolutely.
And then the next step is one phone call, ladies, one. After that, if they don't suggest it, you need to suggest a meeting. All of this is happening pretty quickly. So now, if they're really not who they say they are, and you're going to suggest a cup of coffee, a lunch, you're going to suggest maybe not even an evening activity, right? Maybe a glass of wine or something right after work, but you want it to be in hours of a time where you feel safe. Pick a location you feel safe. And so it does a couple of things. If they don't live here, they can't meet with you. And you're learning that really quickly that, oh, well, I'm overseas and I'm coming home soon. No.
Yes.
You know, so you're weeding those people out pretty quickly. And then if you're having a cup of coffee or a lunch or, you know, something like a drink right after work, it's daylight, you're picking a place that you feel safe, you know, and it's short. And so if you get there and the picture was from 25 years ago and, you know, they had hair then and they don't now, and they're just really lying about who they are, you're stuck with a cup of coffee and, you know.
And that's it.
And that's it. You know, nobody's invested a lot of time. Nobody's invested a lot. Always drive yourself there, you know, always have a reason to leave within a short period of time. So if it's a horrendous date, you know, you can say, well, you know, I really got this appointment that I've got to get to, a girlfriend's meeting me or whatever it is.
Right.
And you get up and you leave. And you haven't really lost much except to say, I learned something.
I agree with you. And on the flip side of that too, is having a short meeting with somebody that you meet the first time is also very healthy. I think that, you know, if you connect, then you have an opportunity to meet again.
Yes.
And plan for something a little bit longer and something that the two of you would enjoy. So there is a healthy aspect in making something very short.
Yes, you want to leave them wanting to know more. If they learn too much about you, there's not that excitement to want to know more, which encourages them to ask you out again. I've had a lot of people say that we had this phenomenal 2-hour or longer first date, and then I didn't hear from him.
Yes.
You know, it could be that he either learned too much, you know, too much too soon isn't good. We want somebody to be able to get to know us, to like us before they start to put all the little pieces into a whole picture. You know, exposing too much too soon on that first date, they don't know us. They're not starting an attachment, you know. They could take one thing and kind of take it out of context.
Absolutely.
Or we don't leave them wanting more. We need to leave them wanting more. So we do a short date for a lot of reasons. You're right. Yes.
I think that's so important. And I'm wondering, since you have talked to so many people, what are some common scams that you hear people kind of getting duped by that people that are watching the show can be alerted to?
Well, again, the not living here, saying that they live, but not living, that's probably the most common one. And again, you can get that out of the way pretty quickly.
Right.
You know, if you're moving through these steps very quickly. The other one that happens is that they they don't look like they say they look. You know, they're not the same age. They're not the same. And so sometimes we can tell that on a phone call, and sometimes you can't. You know,
Right.
you can't tell how good a shape somebody's in. But if you have a phone call and you do talk a little bit about activities maybe, and you just
Oh, excuse me again.
you just really have to realize that that's just part of it, right? If you meet
Mm-hmm.
somebody in a club, you're going to know that you think they're physically attractive, but you're not going to know anything else about them. So online, it's the flip.
Wow.
Allergies.
Excuse me.
Okay. Online, it's the flip. You know, you're going to learn a little bit more about other parts of them, but you might not know what they truly look like. And so sometimes you have to meet people before you meet the right one. So keep
Boy, oh boy, something is really
something's really bothering you.
Yes, I so apologize.
Yeah.
Well, no, I think you are right. And I have talked to people who have been told that when they meet someone by phone that they're going to meet and then later come to find out, yes, the person is in another country. And because there's all this lengthy pen palism
Right.
and then phone calls every so often
Yes.
where there's trust building in a person's vulnerability, and then they're asking for money to be wire transferred
Yes.
or something along those lines.
That goes without saying. We're never going to give anybody money. We're never going to help anybody out. We're not looking for somebody we need to rescue. We're looking for somebody that is in a good position to be in a relationship. So they need to have their stuff. We shouldn't be asked to pay for things, ladies. You know, if they left their wallet, if they, that's why you do a cup of coffee. If they left their wallet, well, you can pay for their cup of coffee. And, but I mean, we're really just sort of opening our eyes and we're looking for things. If they can't meet you, if they can only talk at certain times a day, like they can only talk during the day, but they can't have an evening phone call.
Yes.
That's a clue that maybe they're not single. If
Yes.
if they're not responding back to you can kind of look for some of those. If you could only talk to them during work hours, but not work hours,
Yes.
if they only meet you at lunch. So you meet somebody once maybe for lunch,
Right.
then they're wanting to meet during the day again, or on the weekend.
Yes.
You can't do an
Yes.
evening. I mean, you're just using a little bit of common sense and kind of just, sitting back and looking. And here's another point that I want to bring up. Expect some of those things to happen. It's part of our society now. It's part of what's going to happen.
Yes, that's true.
Get stuff that you don't want. And if what you focus on is that, and you start building up this story about online dating or men or women or, whatever it is, it's the law of attraction, right? You're gonna draw more of that stuff to you. So what you have to do is find somebody that you can joke about with it. I love to tell the story of this guy who sent me a message, and it was very clear in my profile. I was looking for a permanent relationship. I said that I had, younger children, and he sends me a note and wants me to meet him in Vegas for the weekend. And I thought, now, what is it about my profile that makes you think I would do that? But yes. I was polite, and I said, if you read my profile, I'm looking for a life partner. I'm looking for a committed long-term relationship. So you live there, I live here. And he responds back, well, if it goes well in Vegas, I'm retired. I could move there.
Oh my goodness.
But instead of getting upset, right, I thought, well, good for him. I laughed about it. I sent a note back and said, thank you, but no thank you. That's not something that I would be willing to do. And I let it go. So you have to be able to joke about those things and say, yes. Find somebody that will not commiserate with you, but that will laugh about it with you and say, you know what? I got to weed through people, but look how many people there are. My true love is out there, right? I just have to keep going. But what happens is that when you start to get all negative about it, you start to attract more of that to you.
Right. And I think too that establishing healthy boundaries before going out and starting to date is really important. What are you willing to do? What are you not willing to do?
Yes.
And if something happens, you have a couple of plans in how you're going to address those different situations. And I think the key is really understanding how the dating world works now.
Yes.
Whether it's online or not, we really need to establish those and really prepare ourselves for what is going to happen.
Yes. So not giving out too much personal information, until you really know the person. I wouldn't go out with anybody that I didn't know their first and last name and didn't have a cell phone number for. So here's, really like find out their last name. And the cell phone number, what if you're stuck in traffic? What if something happens at the last minute and you have a flat tire? I mean, you need to have a system so that you can communicate. Well, now once we have that, we can do a search for somebody, and we can find out if they say they work someplace, do they really work there? One client though said to me, I can't find anything on somebody. And she said, should I not go out with them? And I said, well, no, because we're talking about an age range, an age group of people that aren't always on social media. They're not always, I said, no, it's okay. Nothing showed up saying he was a criminal. So, so it's okay. You can still go out with them. But I Google searched people, if they say they worked someplace, did they work there? My current husband had just retired from law enforcement. So all of his stuff was pretty private, but I found that he testified in a court case. So I knew that he worked for the agency he said he worked for, right?
Uh-huh.
Even though he was retired law enforcement, I still checked him out. I mean, I still, still wanted to make sure. So we can do some of those things so that we feel a little better. But here's the most important thing.
Okay.
That if you have confidence in yourself, you know your boundaries, you know what you're looking for, right? And you are strong and confident about that. Not harsh, not negative, not a man hater, so the confidence and the strength is internal, right? It's on the inside so that the outside can still show up feminine. But that comes across in a way that tends to repel the people that are trying to take advantage of you, the players. If you're really very upfront about, I'm looking for a relationship. I'm not looking for a lover. I'm not looking to party. I'm not, if that's the truth, right? I'm looking for, now I'm not in a rush. I want it to be the right person. And I want to take things a little slower. I want to get to know that person and build a relationship a little slower because I'm looking for the right one.
Yes.
People that aren't, oh my gosh, they're going to run, right? Or they're going to try to push a little to see if they can get you to change your mind. And that's going to feel, here's my professional word, catch this one now. That's going to feel icky. Icky, right? Your gut says, this doesn't feel right. Listen to that intuition and you'll weed out those people pretty quickly, or really that whole law of attraction, we're not going to attract them near as much if we're strong and confident and say, I'm not worried about it. If I meet somebody and they're a player, I'm going to figure it out pretty quick. And if I don't go along with sleeping with them right away, if I'm not jumping into a mini marriage and going on vacations right away, if I'm not doing those things, they're not going to be interested in me. And they're going to go to the wayside. And instead of being upset about that, right, I'm going to say, thank you so much for getting them out of the picture so quickly.
I think a lot of times people can feel disappointed. They're thinking, gosh, I thought everything was going great, or, okay, this is really a little bit beyond my boundary, but I don't want to lose this person.
Right.
But really, that's so important to know ahead of time because that's just a small bit of their persona coming out. And so there's going to be a lot more of those types of things later on in the relationship, which actually become very unhealthy and can even lead into an abusive relationship.
It can. What I discovered and what I'm always telling my clients is it's fine. My first husband, I met him, it was that love at first sight thing. My current husband, that wasn't the case, really. I thought he was nice looking. I thought he was interesting, but it really was, I think it was date 4 before I really left that date going, wow, this has real potential. You know, I'm always telling my clients, sometimes the really good guys are the ones that it takes a little longer to get to know. And
Yes.
maybe they don't look like the ones that everybody else is, you know, turning heads at. And maybe they're not quite as smooth. And maybe, you know, you got to warm up to them a little. But
Yes.
those are the ones that are going to make fabulous partners. And so if we give those guys a chance, those are the ones you really are trying to look for. Now, it doesn't mean that somebody you look and they're fabulous at first glance can't turn out to be a great guy. I'm not saying that.
Sure.
But I'm saying that I think women a lot of times dismiss men that could turn out to be the right one for them because they don't wow them and sweep them off their feet right away. So I'm always telling my clients, and when I do interviews, give those other guys, you know, the ones kind of in the middle.
Yes.
Those guys more of a chance, and maybe date them more than a couple of times before you make a decision. If nothing's coming up that's a deal breaker, right? If you want children and you learn on the first date that they don't want children, well, then don't bother. But if there's no deal breakers, if there's nothing that's really says, you know, we want very different lives, very different values. If none of that comes up, date them for a little bit and see what happens. Now, if, you know, if you're 4, 5, 6 dates into it, there's no number, but, and the chemistry still isn't showing up for you, well, then it's not going to be there and it's okay to walk away.
Yes.
But at least you've given it a chance. At least,
very true.
You know, that guy could turn out to be, I mean, I really vividly remember that one particular date with my husband where he finally felt comfortable enough and he was sort of opening up a little more and his sense of humor was coming out. And I remember just leaving that date with like stars in my eyes, but it was I think date 4 before that happened. If I had judged it on those first few dates, I wouldn't be happily married to an amazing man right now.
So would you agree that it's really important before someone starts dating to really think about what it is you want and what you're looking for in these terms? And yes, it's great to get out there and get your feet wet and so on and so forth, but really to make the best use of your time, to be safe, have boundaries, know yourself, know what you're looking for, and to just take things slow. There is no hurry because the right one is going to respect you enough, which is another safety tip. If the person does not respect you, that is something that, whatever it is, in whatever way, if they don't respect you, that's a huge sign to really stay away from that particular person. But knowing yourself and setting boundaries is absolutely essential to successful dating, online or offline.
It is, and that is where I start. You know, one of the starting places for when I work with clients, either individually or I do group coaching. You know, I have a group coaching class going on right now, and I teach classes periodically. And I am in the process of taking the class that I've been teaching for years locally and turning it into an online course. So pretty soon it'll be online course that you can take and you can go at your own speed. You can listen to the class, you know, the lessons over and over again. And that is one of the things that I take people through. Like, how do you figure out what are the most important things to you? And yes, taking them step by step through a whole process of getting ready to date and then learning on those first couple of dates, like, what do you do? How do you show up? How do you get past the first date? You know, so that's the whole, I've been working with people for years now doing that, and finally have decided that I need to figure out technology enough to get it onto an online class. But yes, there's a system to that, and you really want to do that. And when you do it, you know, I'll tell you that when I had dabbled a little in dating when I wasn't really probably ready yet. But when I got back online and I was ready, I met my husband in 2.5 weeks. And I didn't just meet him. I actually dated in the beginning for a few weeks, a
Uh-huh.
couple of men. And honestly, there were three of them that were wonderful men. And I got to kind of do a little comparison and decide which one seemed like the better bet for my life, for fitting for
Uh-huh.
me. And so I'm not
Uh-huh.
saying that everybody will meet the love of their life that quickly, but it just shows you that when you're ready, it's not that difficult. You can meet somebody. And I have had clients that have met somebody very quickly as well.
Well, this is fantastic. So if members of the audience would like an opportunity to either be involved with your coaching program or obtain a copy of your book, I'm going to have you share again with the audience how to go ahead and do that.
Yes, so it's my website, which is my name. It's Lori Ann Davis, so it's Loriann Davis. And if you really think that, you're really interested and that I might be able to help you, there's a button on there that says schedule a strategy session, a free strategy session with me. And it'll take you to a calendar. If you can't find a time that works for you, send me a message, send me an email and we'll work on something. But we can, sit down and kind of chat about what's going on with you and would it be a good fit for me to help you.
Mm-hmm.
Going through this process alone can be frustrating. You can start to develop beliefs that won't serve you. And, having somebody to really hold your hand and help you can make a difference sometimes between being successful quickly and being frustrated for. I've known people that have been dating for years and years and actually have given up until they've maybe met me in person. I run a big singles group here in Charlotte. And so I frequently have, 50 people that I'm talking to. And so a lot of those people have given up until they start coming to my group. And that's sad. We don't want you to do that because there is
Absolutely.
out there and you deserve the right person for you. But navigating all of that, nobody ever teaches us how to do that. It's complicated. And sometimes we need some assistance doing that.
I agree with you 100%. And I want to thank you so much for being on the show today.
Oh, thank you. It was my pleasure.
And for all of you watching, this guest was Lori Ann Davis. You can go to her website, lorianndavis.com. Lots of information that she has to share with you to have healthier, happier, and richer, fulfilling relationships, which is going to, as we said at the beginning of the show, have a ripple effect on all of your other relationships. I want to take a moment to just really point out how important it is for you to be safe when dating, whether it's online or offline. I hope that you're able to take a lot of these tips that lay a foundation of what to look for and what to do to ensure that you are safe regardless of whatever the dating cases that you come across, online or offline. Know yourself, have boundaries, and date in public. Date in the daytime. And really don't feel like it's a problem to ask for someone's last name or a cell phone number. These are things that you can do to ensure your safety. And another thing that you can do with that is in the event that you are a little bit more concerned about it, you can always leave that number and the name of the person with someone that you trust so that if they hadn't heard from you in a certain period of time, that they can call and check on you to either get you out of the date or make sure that you're okay. There's a lot of things that you can do, and both myself and Lori Ann Davis are available for any type of questions that you have. And if we can encourage you to maintain safety and also create healthier lives, we'd absolutely love to do that for you. I want to thank you so much for staying tuned today. We ask that you share this episode of Rebecca Sounds Reveille with your friends, family, coworkers, and everybody you know on social media. Thanks for watching.